I'm Myriam.
And I'm Elyse. Two friends bound by the love of books.
Taking on the world one chapter at a time. This is the Book Bound Besties podcast.
Hey, Book Bound Besties!
Welcome to episode 7 of season 2 of the Book Bound Besties podcast, where we dive deep into your favorite books, have unhinged chats, and Elyse theorizes about what's to come because she has not finished the book yet. I cannot believe we are officially more than halfway through season 2. It's just absolutely crazy. It's been flying by.
I know.
I think the trick of doing 5 chapters instead of 3 is really helping us.
Yeah, for sure.
Today we're going to be talking about Iron Flame, chapters 31 to 35, and if you have read this book before, you know that 35 is a big one.
It's actually the biggest chapter in the book.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully we managed to do it justice without talking for like 4 hours.
Yeah. It's okay. Some of the other ones are really short.
That is true. Just a little content warning. This episode does contain topics that are not suitable for little ears. We have a lot of injury.
Oh, yeah.
And purposeful inflicted pain.
Yeah. Otherwise known as torture.
So be warned.
Yeah.
We're going to try to kind of gloss over that, though, because it is sickening, the stuff that Violet goes through. It's
sad.
It is not great. Anyway, let's do a little check-in. We haven't chatted in a while.
Where have you been?
I know. I've been gone for the weekend. Elyse has very kindly kept things afloat for us. Our little viral queen. She has been posting and taking care of basically everything while I was away. I was in Mexico for a long weekend for one of my really good friends' bachelorette, which is very fun. I was a little bit nervous. I only knew the bride and one other person, and we were a group of 12. But everyone was super sweet. We had so many bookish girls on the trip.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so the bride has always been a reader like me, but I'm the one that got her into ACOTAR. So, you know, your viral video about passing it on.
Yes.
'Twas me. And she then passed it on to other people in the group. So it was really fun to kind of talk about that. And we had many debates about Throne of Glass versus ACOTAR. And then I actually, because we had a long flight, it's about 4.5, 5 hours to get to Mexico. Fun fact about me, knit baby blankets for all of our friends whenever someone's having a baby. And I'm seriously behind because everyone is just popping them out like it's their job. So I was like, I'm going to have a long flight. Usually I like to read on a flight, but instead I said I'm going to listen to an audiobook and I'm going to knit. I'll be productive, you know? So I decided I was going to listen to Butcher and Blackbird, which I'd been very apprehensive about. But one of the girls in the group is really into like smutty romance and darker romance. So she's like, oh, you're going to love it. I was like, yeah, but that's not me. Like, I'm really like rainbows and sunshine, you know? Like, I'm not really like dark and gloomy. Anyway, I gave it a shot. I had nothing to lose, basically, and I loved it. It was honestly one of the first 5-star books I've read in a long time.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen it everywhere. Like, I think that cover pops out a lot in videos. Yeah. So, I mean, it's a gorgeous, eye-catching cover to begin with, but I have been curious about it. It's about 2 murderers who fall for each other.
Yeah,
right?
so they're serial killers. Right. But they kill other serial killers. So they're kind of like vigilantes.
Okay.
And yeah, it takes place over the course of a few years. I did post a story that I'm still waiting on someone to respond because I don't understand how it happened over 4 years. I'm convinced it happened over 3 years. Maybe when you read it, you can be like, explain it to me.
We'll analyze that.
Yeah, because your reading comprehension skills are better than mine. But they basically meet every year for a competition where they have to figure out who's the target and then get to the target first.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just surprisingly funny and sweet and emotional with a side of murder.
Right. I think I'd like it. I mean, I haven't really read any dark romance yet. I need to explore that. But I love horror movies. So, and I like thrillers. And I don't like murder, but I don't mind consuming content with it. So yeah, I think I'd like it.
I honestly think you'll like it too. What's fun is that it follows the traditional kind of structure of romance novels where they're standalone, but they follow characters in the same world. So kind of like the book that we read a few weeks ago, Till Death, where the sequel will involve the same kind of general cast of characters, but the main characters will be different.
Okay.
and the main characters from Till Death, like their story was kind of wrapped up in a bow.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. So the story loosely follows 3 brothers. So the first one was the middle brother. The second book that's coming out in a little under a month.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We record our episodes a little bit early. So by the time this episode comes out, it'll
around that week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it comes out the day after my first wedding anniversary.
Right.
And it'll follow the oldest brother. And then the third one we already know is going to follow the youngest brother.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's really
little
fun.
Bridgerton moment.
Kind of. Yeah, exactly.
Very
yeah.
cool.
Bridgerton with a
side of, darkness.
Exactly. So it's awesome. The main character, well, the 3 brothers are Irish. And so the audiobook narrator has an incredible Irish accent.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to listen to it then.
No. You definitely have to listen to it. I actually think that, because I've been reading some reviews and some people kind of didn't really like it. And I think that having listened to it, it made a really big difference.
Okay. I mean, I love an Irish accent, so.
Same. So anyway, how about you? You've been super busy.
Yeah, super, super busy. So, I mean, we record ahead of time, but I'm working 2 different contracts right now. And one show that I'm working on is opening this week, and the other one is next week. So I'm like in crazy crunch time for both. But, getting through it, making a lot of costumes. Things are looking good. I've been watching a lot of like TV and movies because when I sew, I just like put it on in the background. And for some reason, I've been toggling between horror and like the girliest stuff you could find. Like I literally go from I watched Silent Hill, which is really messed up horror. And then I watched a Mary Kate and Ashley movie.
Love that. Where did you find the Mary Kate and Ashley movie?
So it was on Crave.
No.
Yeah, I watched Passport to Paris.
Nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time. The boys have the worst French accents
I know.
of life. I was dying.
I
was dying. But otherwise, it's still such a great, fun movie. I love the Mary Kate and Ashley movies so much.
Which one's your favorite?
I'd have to keep rewatching them because there's some like I haven't seen like Winning London in a century.
I haven't seen Winning London in a really long time.
I haven't seen Holiday in the Sun in a really long time.
Holiday in the Sun is just etched in my memory.
I want to watch it again and I want to see Megan Fox again. Like anyway. Yeah, so I've been toggling between like horrible things and then really light and fluffy things, and for some reason that's just keeping me mellow. It's keeping me going.
That's awesome.
Are you ready to get into this chunk of chapters that is great?
I don't know. But might as well. Let's do it.
I know there's a lot of horrible in it too, but we also find out so much.
Yes, we do. A lot of questions get answered.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay, chapter 31. Can't believe we're in the 30s. Violet gets the shock of her life when her rescuer turns out to be Jack Barlowe. But bottom line, half of the Reston riders are dead, and watching their backs is not going to get any easier. Riddick comes back with good news of how to get into the archive vaults. It's time to set a plan in motion.
Ooh. The pre-chapter blurb comes from page 47 of the Book of Brennan, and it says, "Everyone thinks most rider cadets die from dragonfire. Truth be told, it's usually gravity that gets us." And obviously, it's very appropriate because Violet is hanging off the side of the tower.
Yeah.
So, fun little...
I was like, I don't want to hear that right now.
Yeah. So the chapter opens with Violet's delulu that Aya must not be that injured because that's who she thinks saved her. Mm-hmm. But guess what? It is Jack freaking Barlowe. And when she realizes it's him, she apologizes mind to mind to Taryn because she thinks she's about to set off the chain reaction of doom with her death.
Yeah.
But Jack saves her.
I was shocked. I was like, what? I know he's been friendlier, I guess, and giving her nods and stuff, but I'm just like, what did Nolan do? Mm-hmm. Like, what did he...
How much reparation of his soul occurred?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think he severely altered the soul because he's just not Jack anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. When Violet asks Jack why he saved her, he admits to not having known that it was her to begin with. But he continues his explanation with this kind of saying that, quote, "Riders don't die at the hands of infantry." And there is our typical rider arrogance. Glad to see that death did not squash that out of him. Pun intended, but Oh, I make myself laugh.
That is funny. It is just still insane that he's not dead. Anyway.
I know. So Jack also reveals to Violet that he feels like he's got a second chance of life now that, he's been resurrected from the dead. And I'm just asking myself at this point, who is this guy and what has he done with our villain? Jack kind of leaves Violet to come down from her adrenaline rush, and she goes and retrieves her daggers off the dead infantryman and kind of waits out the shock and the emotions. She's coming to terms with, like you said in your synopsis, the fact that half of the Russin crew is now dead when Riddick finds her. And this is when she starts hysterically laughing over the fact that Jack saved her. And Riddick, like, grabs her face and examines her for a concussion because he's like, there is something wrong with you. And I just think that's so funny. Also, I know that we've been paying a lot of attention to when Dain would cradle her face. Xaden also cradled her face a couple times. And it's just funny now to see Riddick doing it. Maybe everyone's just like grabbing her face. Maybe she has a grabbable face.
Maybe it's just a custom. Like, maybe it's part of their culture. They're very touchy people. I don't know. I would be put off if, like, just everyone was grabbing my face. But
anyone can grab my face. I don't care. I love that he's not in that typical male solution mode. Like, he wants to help her, but he's not imposing his solution. He's taking her lead on kind of what she needs, and I think that's really...
I think all the characters, well, maybe not all, but a lot of the characters in this book are so good at just giving each other the space and the grace that they need, which is something, like, I think in our world, in our culture, we could definitely learn from.
Absolutely. As they're sitting in silence, Riddick fills her in on what he found out after his meeting with Jacinia. There's good news and bad news. The good news is she found the vault and how to get into it. But the bad news is they need someone from the royal bloodline.
Is it bad, though?
Well, he apologizes. He's like, I'm really sorry, because, like, he thinks they hit a dead end. Then Violet has a remaining secret up her sleeve, and the chapter ends.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of highs and lows, this
chunk of chapters?
Yeah.
Did you have the 3 awards?
I weirdly did.
Me too.
Okay. I was like, the chapter was so short, but somehow. Most romantic line?
I look over at Aya's boots. There's nothing I can do to protect her now, but I can protect what she fought for.
That's very nice, actually.
Yeah.
I went with, because I was, like, in shock. I've got you, Jack shouts.
Okay.
An act of kindness from Jack Barlowe. I had to underline that.
Love that. Okay, what's your funniest line?
Do you want to climb back up there and we'll do it again that way?
I picked the same one. Yeah. They're typical kind of gallows humor.
Yeah. Okay. Spiciest.
Then it's a good thing we have access to a prince who happens to hate his father.
Same.
Ooh, 2 for 3. Okay, like, so far, 2 for 3 is our best record.
I know. I hope one day we get 3 for 3.
I know. It would be so fun.
Chapter 32. Xaden is fuming that more people are in on the secrets of Navarre, but not for too long because they have a heist to pull off. Our main crew heads to the archives in disguise to find the journals of the original 6. Blue Blood Aaric in tow, our crew has to race against the clock to pull this off.
The pre-chapter blurb comes from Major Frenda's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant Unauthorized Edition, and it says, quote, God save us from the ambitions of second years. They think they've experienced everything because they've survived their first year, but in reality, they only know enough to get themselves killed.
It's interesting because in a normal context, I would probably agree, but with everything Violet and her friends went through, I'm like, I think they're a little above just being like a second year, you know?
Yeah, because, well, especially Violet, she's been to battle.
Well, exactly. They've seen the realities of the world and have fought through them. So it's just like, yes and no.
Yeah, fair enough. We've fast-forwarded to the next time Xaden is at Biscayeth, and he is not a happy camper, to say the least. Violet has just confessed to sharing the secret with her friends, and naturally, he's got some feelings about it. He needs to know who knows, so she says Rhiannon, Sawyer, Riddick, and Quinn. But she blames Imogen on the Quinn bit, which I found kind of funny.
Yeah.
Violet insists that they don't know everything. They don't know about Eratia, they don't know about Brennan, and they don't know about the Luminary issue, which, she points out, would not be an issue if she could get some time off to demonstrate her abilities to Viscount Takaris. But Xaden shuts that down really fast. He's refusing to entertain that idea. He's worried enough as it is about the plan to break into the archives tonight. Side note, I love how Rebecca just weaves these details into the story. We knew about getting into the vault, but she kind of just fast forwards to the actual plan without explaining all that to us. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. I just think that the good news in all of this is that they're communicating and they're expressing their feelings and they're saying what's on their mind. Violet even asks him to tell her what he's thinking. So this is progress.
Yeah.
So Xaden obliges, and he outlines his concerns. And this, again, is a super clever way of telling us, without telling us outright, what's kind of going on. So his concerns are, 1, they haven't secured the agreement of the key participant, who I'm assuming is Aaric.
Right.
2, Justinia won't be the only scribe in the archives, which increases the probability of getting caught. And 3, the plan is not only to steal the books, but return them before anyone notices.
So they have to break in twice, essentially.
Essentially.
The whole time I was like thinking, like, if they just had cell phones, this would be easier. They could just like take pictures of the book and like.
Or couldn't someone have a signet of a photographic memory or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like we're missing out here.
Yeah.
So she hasn't thought through how they're going to consume all the content of the journals and return them in time. And I found this detail a little bit hard to believe. Like, they're waiting until the night of to tell Aaric about the plan. They haven't thought, like, how they're going to get through reading all the journals. I don't know. It just... I just thought this was a disaster waiting to happen, and I was right. Then we get a chin lift.
Me too.
From Mr. Xaden Ryerson. And I wrote in my notes that we really should have started a chin lift counter.
We should have.
So I'm giving myself a note to self.
Yeah.
That for season 3, we start a counter, and I already have an idea of what we're going to be counting.
Okay. I love it.
So I'm excited. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. When Xaden asks her how she could be so sure that the answers are in the journals, Violet reveals that over the last month, they've read half of the classified books on word weaving, and the other half Justinia has. So this is really their last resort. It's the last option, the final countdown.
Yeah. But realistically, it's also the purest books they could possibly have access to. So chances are it's going to be the info they need.
For sure. It's the foundational texts of Navarre.
All of it, yeah.
Yeah. When Violet asks Xaden whether he's going to fight her on this plan, because he's adopted the if you can't beat him, join them mentality, he's so sweet. He's like, I won't get in a fight with you about books. Man knows what's up. Then he gets all up in her face, and he waits for her to make a move. Quote, my breath catches at the realization that he's given me the choice, not just to kiss him, but to call our night in Samara an exception. But it wasn't.
They kissed.
She realizes that this tender moment is a sign that the relationship is more than just fiery passion.
Finally.
I know. But instead of getting comfort from that, we're back to annoying Violet. It's like a tennis match. Like, your head is just going side to side. Like, you can't keep up. She's in love with him. She doesn't trust him. She is happy with him. It's never ending. Yeah. Quote, I love him. No matter what he's done or why he did it, I still love him. And I know he cares about me. Maybe it isn't love. Maybe after all he's been through, he isn't capable of that emotion. But I mean something to him. What the fuck?
Why I just don't understand why that thought would even cross, like, why she would even entertain that thought. Because he has said it, maybe not explicitly the words I love you, but he has shown it in so many ways, Violet. Like, it shouldn't even be a doubt at this point anymore. It's really frustrating.
I agree. Before things can get too heated, though, Xaden breaks off the kiss and moves toward the door, where Riddick and Sawyer are caught in the wards and fall onto the hallway floor, which I think is just a wonderful little comedic relief.
Yeah, I love a good physical humor moment.
Bodhi has brought Aaric up, even though he doesn't know why he's there, and tensions are running high between Xaden and Aaric. Violet thinks it's because of their daddies and their daddy issues, because Xaden's dad started a war that Aaric's dad ended, but we soon find out that that's not the case.
Runs a little deeper than that.
A little bit. Violet pulls them all into her soundproof room. Finally, the room is getting used as intended instead of spilling all their traitorous secrets in Rhiannon's room. That really annoyed me. I really could not understand
There was no reason for it.
There really wasn't.
Yeah.
Violet turns to Aaric and tells him, quote, we need your help, and you can say no and walk away right now, but if I explain why we need you and you say no... ... If we tell you why and you decline, you won't be walking away, Xaden finishes.
It's not like he has much of a choice there.
Not really. It's like life or death, you know?
Yeah. If they killed him, could they still use his body to, like, get through the wards?
Oh, maybe. But I feel like Justinia, it would raise some questions.
Yeah, just dragging. Yeah.
Also, they have to kind of move quickly, and so having a corpse might slow them down a little bit.
True.
Anyway, Aaric...
Maybe just his hand?
Like, dismember his hand?
Or maybe they just need the blood. Just take his blood? I don't know. I'm just trying to see, what if he said no? Like, what is the workaround here?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. Aaric looks at Xaden and is like, if you think I'm going to lift a finger for you... And then he pulls out his sword. And you know what? Threats of violence just hit different when you're talking swords and daggers instead of guns, don't you think?
Yeah. So actually, that's one thing that it's more personal.
Yeah.
and it requires more effort and aggression, so it's scarier. So that's why in horror movies, all main serial killers have
like a machete,
or a knife or whatever, because it's so much more personal.
Oh boy, Aaric doesn't hate Xaden because of their respective daddy issues. He hates him because he's the one who killed King Tari's second son, aka Aaric's brother, who happened to be named Alec, which I find funny because I want to know what his other brother's name is, and I guarantee you it sounds like Aaric, or Alec, except after further reflection and reading the rest of the chapter, it has nothing to do with Aaric and Alec.
Oh, do they say it later?
Yeah, they say his name later.
Oh.
Anyway, I wrote a note to myself, King Tari isn't the creative type, but then I had to recant because King Tari is indeed a creative type.
That's really
with
funny.
naming his children.
That's funny.
The scene changes and everyone's been brought up to speed on the plan. Aaric got on board as soon as he found out that they were doing his dad dirty, basically.
Yeah, which I thought was funny.
When Violet checks in with him to make sure he's okay with the plan, he responds, quote, absolutely, the only person I hate more than Xaden Ryerson is my father. Just keep your boyfriend the fuck away from me.
I kind of enjoyed this, like, rivalry between Aaric and Xaden. Like, I enjoyed watching them beef a bit. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I have some questions about it later for you.
Because, like, it was harmless. Anyway, we'll get into it.
Well, it could have been harmful.
Yeah, but they're just being boys.
Yeah, this is true. They get to the archives where Bodhi and Riddick stand behind the sleeping guard, Nasia. Remember I told you, like, remember him?
Yeah, he's always sleeping.
Exactly. So they're going to keep
him a few times, I think.
And every time he's sleeping. It's kind of just it's setting us up.
The school should maybe not put him on that job.
Maybe. Jacinia meets him at the door and says only 4 can go in. So Xaden selects himself, Violet, Imogen, and Aaric. When Jacinia looks at Aaric, she kind of gets startled. And she says his eyes are a dead giveaway to his parentage. She knows exactly who he is. Rhiannon argues that her retrieving skills could come in handy, but Imogen reminds her that her ability to wipe short-term memory is their last line of defense. So we need Imogen at all times. Yeah. We find out that they have 1 hour to achieve their mission because if they're still in there when the door's shut, they are DEAD.
So that line that's been playing in my head since the first book is like, it's now.
You'll be the death of me?
Just the library. Because it's mentioned in the first book how there's no air, and if you get stuck in it, you're as good as dead. So it's just like, oh no, it's happening. It's now.
Yeah, well, we're being primed. So they walk through the archives deeper than Violet's ever been, with Xaden hidden in the shadows. And as they're walking, they're intercepted by another scribe cadet, but our gang, with the exception of Xaden, are disguised, so they just kind of keep their heads down to avoid being recognized. And when the cadet expresses suspicion of Jasinia's whereabouts, she turns it right back on him. He claims to have forgotten his assignment in one of the classrooms, and she sassily signs, forgetfulness doesn't become a scribe. And then she kind of makes a face at him and says, if you don't mind, first year, we second years have things to accomplish. Not everyone requires weekends off to study. And then the first year kind of scurries off, embarrassed, with his tail between his legs. When Xaden leaves the shadows, Violet warns that he's going to be noticed in all black. But then we get an answer to one of your fourth wing questions about the sentience of his shadows. Because apparently, like, they kind of scope things out for him.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like Azrael's shadows in ACOTAR.
Yeah. Because that's how he gets his secrets, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so he's able to kind of project his shadows down, and he could spot the guards before even getting there, which is, like, super useful.
For sure. Jacinia leads them deeper into the archives, so deep she's never even been there before. Imogen is left on lookout while Jacinia pulls a hidden lever out of the bookcase, and the corner of the room separates, revealing a secret spiral staircase.
It's just so cool. Have you seen people, like, there's a lot of people on TikTok who make them in their homes. Yeah. I'm like, how is your home big enough to have a secret room?
A secret room, I know.
But it's so cool. Just like the bookcases that either you pull a book or a lever, or it's just a door. And
those swiveling doors.
Yeah, it's very Scooby-Doo. It's very cool.
It is very cool. The dream.
Can't
have a secret room here in my 2-bedroom condo. No space. Okay. Yeah. Violet is absolutely riveted by the discovery of this secret passage. And Xaden, I find so cute. He's just looking at her and tells her, quote, I feel like I'm looking at what could have been. And when she asks him to continue with that train of thought, he just says, she looks better in black.
Yeah. Well, so just to go back to the secret hideaway thing, Violet says something that I thought was really worth noting. She says, how many of these little hidden wonders exist around here? And it just made me wonder, I'm like, what else does the castle have to offer? Because we've already seen the secret passageway that leads to the courtyard, is it?
To the flight field.
To the flight field.
The one in fourth wing that Xaden takes her through?
Exactly. Yeah. So we've seen that one. Now we've seen this one. And it's like, oh, like, are we going to discover more along the way? I just thought it was worth pointing out.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's like the interrogation room. That one was also hidden.
Also?
Yeah. Jacinia can't go any further with them, fearing that it would raise questions if anyone noticed her abandoning her post for any longer because she's supposed to be at the front kind of desk with Nasia. So as she's leaving, she kind of tells them that, quote, according to the others, the normal archive wards end here. So if you can't get back in time, you're safer down here overnight. Did anyone freaking listen to her?
Right?
No.
When she said that, I was like, oh, okay. They're going to spend the night underground in this secret place. But no.
I know.
They're like, we must race out of here. Like, no, stay.
Yeah.
Be safe.
Yeah.
It was kind of silly.
It was kind of silly.
I guess it would raise suspicion in the end of just like, where are all these people?
Or how would they get out of there? But keep in mind, it's a Saturday night. So they have all of Sunday, which I'm assuming is quieter in the archives as well because it's a weekend. I don't know.
They're in disguise. Like, I don't know.
The chapter ends with Imogen warning them that they've got 45 minutes as Xaden grabs Violet's hand, sigh, butterflies, and they go down the secret staircase.
Stressful.
What is your most romantic line?
I'm choosing him, choosing us. There will be no calling this a lapse in judgment or a result of too much adrenaline or even lust. I love him.
Oh, sorry. You kept going.
Yeah, I did.
I was going to be like, I picked the same one. Keep going.
I love him. No matter what he's done or why he did it, I still love him, and I know he cares about me.
Aww. I got too excited because I picked the same one.
Yeah.
But I ended my quote at even lust, but the whole chunk that you read was great.
What's your funniest?
Me? Argue with you about books? I only pick fights I can win.
Very cute. Riddick and Sawyer stagger forward, then slam into the wards and fall to the hallway floor.
The little comedic moment.
Yeah.
Love that. What's your spiciest line?
He hovers right there and waits, our mouths so close it would only take a whisper of movement to connect us. All it takes is his nearness, his touch, and my blood simmers. Anticipation flushes my skin, and he strokes his thumb along my heated cheek, but doesn't take what I so desperately want him to.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Mine was actually spicy sassy, and it's, your brother was a craven, murderous prick, and I'm not sorry I killed him.
That's spicy.
Yeah.
Chapter 33. The group makes their descent into the secret archives as time is ticking. Aaric manages to pull Violet along through the wards to divide and conquer the search for the journals. After some time, they find them, but Aaric pays the price for retrieving them, his hands covered in boils. The group sprint for their life as they try and make it back through the doors in time, but it seems they might not.
The pre-chapter blurb comes from Colonel Daxton's Guide to Excelling in the Scribe Quadrant, and it says, the first time you are caught in the archives after the door seals for the evening will be the last. The complex magics put in place to preserve our texts are not compatible with life. To say the least.
Yeah, reading that, I thought someone was dying.
Me too, I thought someone was going to die the first time I read this.
Yeah, I was like, my guess was Imogen, and like out of the group that we had, but I was like, yeah, someone's dying for sure. But not the case.
Nope. The four riders are going down the stairs when Xaden's shadows alert them of two guards at the end of the hallway. He leaves the group to wait for him while he deals with them, and once they're incapacitated, he tells them to move forward. They contemplate how the wards make them uncomfortable, while Violet reiterates that they're looking for two journals, except then Aaric, the little shit, grabs Violet and brings her into the warded space. Having crossed the wards that aren't supposed to have let her in, Violet feels very nauseated. She, justifiably so, demands to know whether Aaric knew it would work, and he replies that, quote, my father doesn't have anything warded that isn't worth showing off, so I took a chance that you wouldn't smack into the wards like a wall. And I can't get through these books in the next 40 minutes alone. You're the one who knows what we're looking for. Listen, I get it. He has a point, but he could have warned us.
Yeah. I'm more like, okay, why didn't he pull them all through?
We find out later why.
Just because he doesn't like Xaden?
Yeah, he wants to torture Xaden.
Yeah, I know, but it's not time to be petty. It's time to be efficient, and this was silly.
I know. I completely agree with you. Anyway.
Because he has a point. Like, he wouldn't have been able to get through all the books alone, and obviously Violet is very clever, and she was able to kind of deduce, like, okay, what kind of location would it be?
Yeah, but she took a really long time to deduce that.
I agree, but I guess we needed to let the clock run out for the drama.
Yeah, exactly. We needed the anxiety levels to rise.
Yeah, but it's just like, okay, we tried it. Obviously, he can physically pull people through the same way Violet can in her room. So, okay, now it's time to get them all through. Let's get this happening. Maybe one of them stay behind for the guards.
True. After recovering from her fright, Violet scans the room. There are 6 bookshelves and a pedestal of cabinetry in the middle of the room, decorated with a velvet tablecloth and embroidered with the king's signet. How did they not go directly for this pedestal? I feel like it's just the most obvious place for a revered piece of history.
Yeah.
It's just Anyway, listen.
It's like, I was picturing it almost like, so you have a whole library with like rows of books, and then at the end of the hall, like a dais with like a spotlight on it. They don't go to it.
Yeah. Now listen, I liked Aaric. I was team Aaric. I loved that Aaric was on our side.
Yeah.
Until he antagonized my boyfriend.
I thought it was funny.
I did not find it funny.
I enjoyed watching Xaden get riled up a bit.
Come on, not me. Xaden demands that Aaric pull him into the chamber, but Aaric responds, quote, "No. The only perk I'm getting out of this whole expedition is knowing how much it must pain you to realize you can't get to her." What a caca. It's not cool.
I like watching Xaden squirm a bit, so.
Not in like a life or death situation.
It's not, though. Aaric was never going to hurt her.
No, but they are generally in a life or death situation. This is a very high stakes heist.
Yeah. So, like, practically what I was saying is they should have all been pulled through, but.
Agreed. I don't know. This is like nice, sweet Elyse, and she likes this. And I'm the spicy one, and I don't like it. We're like switching roles today.
It was harmless. It was harmless.
It was emotional damage, okay?
No. I think I just enjoy watching, like, people like Xaden, like, get a little off kilter.
This is not the time to be off kilter. It's just not.
He's, like, always cool, always in control, and we're seeing him slip a bit, and it's kind of fun.
Like, putting Xaden off kilter, if Violet were to take down her hair out of her braid when they're, like, I don't know, sparring, something.
Yeah.
Something where it's, like, not really appropriate, but it's not dangerous. This is not the time to be off kilter.
Yeah, I don't think it's dangerous, though.
Okay, agree to disagree. Violet is undeterred, acting like a mom arbitrating her kid's fight. Quote, "Stop antagonizing him and get to work, Aaric." And she tells him to ignore anything that's not handwritten. And they just kind of keep shuffling along, searching the books. And she looks at Xaden, who is in what she calls full fuck you mode. And she tells him mind to mind that she's fine. But he threatens to kill Aaric. And again, I love how we get just a little backstory on Alec's death in the most natural way. We learn that, quote, "Aaric deserved it. He was a bully and forfeited his life coming after Garrick during threshing. Though I wonder who it was that told Aaric, since if his father knew, I highly doubt I'd still be in possession of my head."
I thought that was interesting info, too, because I was like, oh, how did he find out? Like,
Maybe through the dragons?
oh, maybe.
I'm not too sure. But again, I just love that Xaden is touch her, you die. But like not only touch her, you die, but like touch anyone, you die. You know?
Yeah, anyone he cares about. Yeah.
Violet defends Aaric, saying that he doesn't deserve the same outcome as his brother. And they kind of just leave it at that. She returns to her frantic search. And Violet's inner scribe is fighting with her mission to look quickly because she's finding books on the early wars, the history of the individual provinces, mythology of the gods, and more. And she's just kind of in wonder and awe of what's in this room.
Yeah, it made me think of like, you know, when you're cleaning out your closet or a space and then like you start pulling out things and you're like, oh yeah, this. And then next thing you know, you've done like no cleaning because you're just like reminiscing and looking at everything. And because I get that. Like, obviously she's going to want to read everything. Like,
yeah, these are documents that she would never, under any other circumstance, have access to, and I'm sure it's absolutely fascinating to her. When Aaric asks about the journals of the commanding generals of the riders, she responds that they used to be separate positions. Quote, "Healers, infantry, or even scribes could be the general of the armies until about 200 years ago with the Second Crovelin Uprising. After that, the commander of the riders commanded all Navarre's forces." So I found this really interesting because one can assume that in the past, if, let's say, a scribe was the commander of the army, they would have maybe a more strategic perspective and a more strategic strategy. You know, if a healer did, or, you know, like all of these different ways of thinking could impact the way that the armies are behaving, and what was lost in this decision to almost narrow the field of thinking by having solely riders be at the command, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually interesting. I work at a college and in the theater department, and the heads, like the chair people of each department, most departments have a mandatory rotation to purposefully always keep like fresh minds and different perspectives heading the departments to be able to, you know, make those changes and like think differently, and which I always thought was like kind of clever, as opposed to having one person do it for 30 years, you know? Yeah,
for sure. Actually, in accounting, also there's this concept because so if you're a large publicly traded company, you must be audited by an auditing firm, and There are 4 big auditing, they're called the Big Four auditing firms in the world. So what happens is there's almost like a statute of limitations for how long a given firm could be an auditor for a given company, because otherwise there's this conflict of independence where, let's say the partner in charge of the file develops too close a relationship with the CEO of the company, they may be willing to let things slide when...
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar
honest,
thinking. Yeah, exactly. When Imogen points out that no rider has ever been king, Aaric responds that he has no desire to be monarch. And then we get the name of his remaining brother.
Oh, right.
It's Halden, which is nothing like Aaric and Alec. But also, his name isn't even Aaric, it's Cam. So, my whole shtick is out the window.
Oh, right.
It was all for nothing.
I forgot about that. Yeah. That's really funny.
Then there's this like weird jealousy thing going on with Aaric. And actually, some people, I want your take on this. Some people think that there will be a love triangle with Aaric, Violet, and Xaden.
Oh, no.
Don't quote me on this, but I think Rebecca is like not a fan of love triangles. So maybe we're in the clear. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if Xaden wasn't in the picture, I don't think Aaric, they seem to have a good relationship, but like, I don't think Violet's going to go for Aaric over Xaden.
No. I think Aaric is like blonde hair, blue eyes, and she seems to like the tall, dark, and handsome.
Well, Liam, okay, was blonde hair.
Yeah, but she wasn't into Liam.
No, I'm just saying he was very attractive.
I'm not saying blonde hair, blue eyes isn't attractive. I'm married to like basically a blonde hair, blue eyed guy.
I just find it, a lot of people are like fully like raging wars against the blondes, and I'm like, can we just...
Well, I mean, I'm surprised I wound up with a little white boy. I thought I was going to be with some like Mediterranean, Middle Eastern kind of tall, dark, and handsome kind of guy. Anyway, the heart wants what it wants.
Yeah, for sure.
Imogen expresses her disbelief that Violet kept Aaric's secret, but then he says, quote, "I've known Violet longer, which is why I'm not surprised she kept yours. The rift between you and Atos is what caught me off guard. You two were inseparable when we were kids." And I'm just like, this is like, oh, he's my friend. No, he's not, you know? It's just like annoying, petty, immature.
I feel like we had such different reactions to this.
To this whole chapter, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. The pressure is mounting, and I started having trouble taking notes because my anxiety levels were through the roof, and I've read this book before. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I was definitely stressed. I was like, oh my God, someone's dying.
Yeah.
They're going to die. They're going to die.
They're going to get caught. They're going to die. Something bad's going to happen. They're finding all sorts of records that don't matter / aren't relevant, and they are down to 15 minutes. And Violet starts to panic, asking Xaden, what if this was all for nothing? And he stays so calm, so cool, so collected. And he tells her, quote, "Then we'll know to look elsewhere. The only way to fail this mission is to be caught. You still have 5 minutes. Use them." Violet starts using her calming technique to get the panic under control, and I kind of like how Aaric recognizes it. It's kind of a little nod to their years of friendship and kind of further evidence of how long they've known each other. And it just reminds me of a few weeks ago, we were talking about the whole show don't tell friendship with Dain and how we were never invested in that friendship with Dain because we never saw evidence of that friendship. Whereas here, Aaric wasn't her best friend. He was a good friend. He was a friend she's known for a really long time. But I feel like in that moment, it goes to show their friendship.
Yeah, you could already see the things he notices in her and how well he knows her.
Yeah. Violet's recitation of facts isn't simply to calm her nerves. It also helps her remember that, quote, "light will steal ink's pigment and crack the leather of spine and cover." So she starts looking for another hidden compartment. And she keeps repeating to herself that the king would want to show these journals off. So she reaches for the velvet tablecloth in the center pedestal cabinet that she first noticed upon walking into the room. Major eye roll.
Yeah.
And she finds the journals under glass. But it's not Glassalies.
No, it's a ward.
Problem is, these wards weren't set up to be unlocked by the king's bloodline, only him.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So when Aaric reaches in to grab them, it allows him to do it, but he develops these intense blisters everywhere that pass through the wards. And now they've got 2 minutes left. My heart is pounding. We're in escape mode. They leave wineskins with the guards to make it look like they've passed out drunkenly, and they make it out of that like secret chamber, and now they're running out of the archives.
Where they could get locked in archives.
Yeah.
Because obviously when you
They've
have
left
30 seconds to spare, that's where you're going to go.
Yeah, you're not going to stay in the room that's protected that you can stay in overnight, no problem. You're going to risk it for the biscuit.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of amazing when you think about it. Xaden leads them, zero hesitation. He's never been there before, and he's just like,
he knows.
left, right.
Yeah. Good sense of direction and does it.
Good memory. Anyway.
Yeah, they're sprinting for their life, and there's like a bell chiming that the doors are going to close, and I find just that is so stressful. Like, sounds could be so triggering and could add so much to stress that, like, a giant bell counting down the seconds, like, oh. Yeah, I think I held my breath through this last part.
Yeah. Time is running out. Xaden is pushing Violet to run faster, but she just can't. So he falls back. He runs slower to keep up with her. And she tells him to take the books because he can make it. But he tells her, you stay, I stay.
Yeah.
How romantic.
I know.
Oh, okay. The chapter ends with Xaden pushing Violet through the doorway. She looks back and Aaric isn't close enough. The last sentence is such a cliffhanger. And thankfully, we were able to keep reading. Because she thinks to herself, they are not going to make it.
Yep. So Sawyer, Imogen, and Violet did make it.
Yeah.
But it's just Aaric and Xaden who are hanging back. Scary.
Yeah.
What was your most romantic line?
I actually just loved how upset and touch her you die-ish Xaden got through the whole scene.
Yeah, that's fair.
What was your most romantic line?
If I stay, you stay.
Oh, yeah. I had debated putting that.
Funniest?
Bet you're glad we've been running every morning.
Same. And I did not have a spicy.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have a spicy either, but I had two moments that I kind of picked out, which is it's kind of a tie between the line Aaric tells them about knowing Violet longer and like that kind of like silly, immature squabble, and then the hatred he spews at Xaden for killing his brother. I found those like both to be
Spicy sass.
Spicy moments.
Chapter 34. We get a brief respite before tumbling back down into the pit of despair that is this book. Xaden and Aaric made it through, and the team continues their plan. They make it back to the quadrant, and Violet and Xaden share a sweet, triumphant moment. Xaden takes off with the journals, and just as Violet is feeling good about the night, Varish is there to ruin everything.
Everything.
I, like Violet, was like, oh my god, they did it. The journal is off. We are good.
The turtle is off?
The journal. Oh. The journal is off. We are good. And I was like, oh my god, we're having a good moment. And then no, not in this book.
No. It's not that kind of book.
Ugh.
The pre-chapter blurb comes from recovered correspondence of Lieutenant Xaden Ryerson to Cadet Violet Sorrengail, and I freaking hate these recovered correspondences. Anyway, my last words with my father before the Battle of Aurasia were spoken in anger because he was sending me away for my own safety. I'm not sure I'll ever forgive myself for that, but I like to think he forgives me. That's so sad.
I know.
That's why ever since I was a child, I would always tell people I love you like 5 million times before they left my house or like before we separated because I'm like, what if this is the last time I could tell them that? Like I never want the last interaction I have with someone to be in anger or, any negative feelings. I need good vibes. Rebecca doesn't waste any time bringing our souls back into our bodies because the first sentence of the chapter is Xaden yanks Aaric through just as the doors slam shut, shadows scattering around the floor like fallen leaves. They made it. They're taking off their scribe's clothes, which is how they had disguised themselves, and Imogen makes sure that Nasia's memories are wiped. They change the plan, which sets off sirens in my head. Because now Riddick is to accompany Aaric to his room, ensuring that his hands are hidden. Rhiannon is to go to the infirmary and ask for Dyer, because remember, he's the healer that she saved during their first land nav exercise. And Jesinia offers to take the laundry.
I think they needed to, though.
For sure.
So I think it was a good move, especially to protect the one thing that could really give them away, which would be the hands,
Totally. It's just whenever the plans change, things never go right. We meet our first non-signing character, Sawyer. So remember, we've been talking through Fourth Wing, through Iron Flame for these past few chapters about how impressed we are that nearly everyone can sign, but Sawyer apparently can't. Anyway, Violet translates everything for him, which I found very funny. And as they're catching up with the gang who we weren't with during the heist, we learn that Quinn's signet has seriously strengthened. She was able to project into the commons and appear as both Violet and Rhiannon.
So cool.
I know. She reveals that she can distort her own features, like on her physical person, but that it's much easier for her to do it when she astral projects. And then she drops a little Easter egg.
Scary one.
That we need to marinate on.
Terrifying.
Her signet is stronger because her dragon was her great aunt's. Quote, but she's not a direct descendant, so I don't have to worry about going mad like those whose dragons bond in the direct familial line. Dragons aren't supposed to even get close to family lines for that exact reason, like they listen to human rules. Who bonded in their direct family line, Elyse?
Sigale. Mm-hmm. Why would she do that?
Why
I'm so
indeed?
Mad. Why would she do that?
Why?
Knowing that this is going to be the result. So now Xaden's going to go mad.
Well, we don't know.
Well, we know. Now we know. And I'm very upset about it. But then I was like, is he going to go mad in like a King George kind of way? Like, anyway, I'm just really worried.
I mean, you should be.
I know.
Rebecca loves to torture her readers. Like, she actually derives pleasure from our suffering.
Why did you bring me into this?
Sorry.
Anyway, I don't...
Just wait until the end of this book.
No.
I think it might be friendship ending.
No, I don't want to. I quit. I'm like so like anticipating like so much stress and being distraught that I just
So they're passing the infirmary when Bodhi jinxes the gang by saying that this was blissfully uneventful. The gang parts way when they reach their rooms because they're all going to try to make as much of a scene as possible in order to have a decent alibi. Mm-hmm. And this is where our lovers part. Mm-hmm. So sad. They share a kiss, and they're both smiling when they part. And I'm just like, my little heart can't take the sweetness. Oh, I just love those moments where you just, like, kiss your partner, and you're just both so happy over something. Like,
yeah. It's so nice in this moment because it's like, it's this moment of victory, and they're sharing it together, and they actually do have a very brief moment of happiness.
I know.
And it's just like, oh, yes, finally, they needed this.
They deserve this.
They deserve
They've been
it.
through so much.
Yeah.
I guess the unwritten part of this plan was that Xaden would leave earlier than he had to so that he can take one of the journals to Brennan.
Which is smart.
Yeah, it's giving don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, they should have split up the journals, like, right away.
Yeah, I guess they
like,
were just
the fact
in a
that
rush.
Violet... Yeah, but, like, Rhiannon should have taken one. Or like, Imogen, or, you know, or Bodhi.
Yeah, Violet should not have been holding on to one.
Right away, it's like, we need to protect these, separate them, get them as far away from each other as possible, which, like, I understand in this moment, Xaden is physically taking it away, but it's just, like, it should have happened sooner.
Yeah, but she's still in possession of the other one.
Well, I know, that's what I'm saying. It should have happened sooner.
Yeah. Before she hands over Warwick's journal, though, Violet takes a look inside, and it's written in Old Lucerish, and it reads, quote, after we placed the last rune, we placed the wardstone where the dragons felt the deepest currents of magic run, at the birth of an iron rain. Mm-hmm. Whatever that means.
Well, it's the opposite of an iron flame, so I'm assuming it's something important.
Good point. Violet confirms that there are at least 3 more mentions of the term Iron Rain before she gives the satchel to Xaden. She instructs him to take it to Brennan, who should be able to translate it. And so Xaden kind of takes it from her, gives her a trademark, swoon-worthy Xaden line. You are astonishing. And then he tells her he'll see her in 7 days. He leaves her, and all I can think of is, like, Jaws music, like an ominous, like, dun-na, dun-na, dun-na. You know, like, something bad is obviously about to happen.
I didn't think so. Like,
this has all been too good to be true. Something bad, the shoe was going to drop. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I thought maybe, like, the hand thing would give them away, or I don't know, but I thought, like, I was like, oh, we're almost at the end of the chapter, like, we're doing okay. Let's wrap it up.
Rookie move, Elyse.
Let's get to bed. But no. Violet's name is called, and Nolan shows up, and he heads over with 2 mugs of lemonade. I don't even know. Mm-hmm. And he's being super friendly, and he says, like, oh, I remembered you were on my mending list, so, like, here, have this. And Barlowe said he saw you out here.
Big eye emoji.
Red flag.
Yeah.
That's when my red flag went up. I'm like, no, excuse me? Barlowe?
Yeah, why are we still talking about that guy?
I know he saved her life, but I still don't, like, trust him, you know? Like.
Yeah.
And then Violet drinks it and then realizes that the lemonade is drug as her powers slip away from her and her connection to Taryn slips away from her. And then Nolan keeps saying that he hates to see her hurt, but, quote, I can't protect you from the consequences of your own actions when you risk the safety of every civilian in this kingdom.
Okay, like, number 1, Rebecca is just twisting the knife in our guts because Violet, before she takes the sip, is like, thank you, Nolan, for helping us with the interrogation. Then he goes and betrays her. Mm-hmm. That sucked. But then I'm, like, screaming at my book She notes that the lemonade tastes funny. And she doesn't put two and two together. I'm a grown woman sitting on my couch yelling at a fictional character because I'm so frustrated. This is the third time. The third time.
But her guards are down around Nolan.
I know. Which makes me so mad that he's capitalizing on her trust.
I'm reading Assassin's Blade right now. And I guess, spoiler without actually saying what happens, something exactly like this happens at the part that it's I just read.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's just like your guards are down with certain people because you trust them.
Yeah. Nolan looks down at the satchel she's carrying. Why didn't she give Xaden the book in the satchel? It would have protected the book anyway. And why is she carrying a cream satchel? Why isn't she carrying a black?
Why isn't it in her jacket or something? Like, just all of it.
I know.
Just like, I'm just going to wave this around. Like, anyway. Silly.
Yeah. The chapter ends with Varys walking out of the shadows.
A little creep that he is. When Xaden comes out of the shadows.
We like that.
We like it. It's hot. When Varys does it,
No.
Nope.
Awards.
What's your most romantic line?
The simple pleasure of it is perfect. And this is what Violet is thinking as Xaden kisses her goodbye. Aww. It's just so nice. It's, sometimes you reach a point in your relationship where it's kind of like bittersweet. It's moments that would have given you butterflies at first that now you just kind of take for granted. And it's just like a nice, I get what she's saying. The simple pleasure of it is perfect. Like, it's a simple pleasure to be able to just like kiss your partner goodbye and that be not that big of a deal because it's just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Yesterday I was like, really upset because of life and work things, and I was just like sitting there fuming, like finishing my notes, and Scott was across the table working as well, and he just like got up, came over and gave me a kiss, and it was like a total reset. Like it just like relaxed and like let all the poisons out, and I was just like, okay, I'm okay now. It was just like a really sweet moment because he could see that I was like not okay.
Yeah.
And it was just really sweet.
Love that.
He's the best. Anyway, my most romantic line is, for the first time in months, it's hope coursing through my veins instead of dread.
Aww. Love that. What's your funniest line?
I don't have one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I do. Well, that was blissfully uneventful. Bodhi pushes open the door to the bridge. Speak for yourself. You weren't in charge of keeping Xaden calm while Aaric had Violet trapped behind the wards with him.
That is funny.
It's just sassy.
Spiciest.
Why, Cadet Sorrengail? What have you gotten yourself into?
I arch against him, spearing my hands into his hair as I kiss him back with everything I feel.
Aw. Well, I'm sensing a trend today. I'm going sassy. You're going actual spicy.
Actual spice. I feel like most of the time I go sassy, so when there's actual spice, I'm like, okay, I gotta find it.
The roles have been reversed. Elise, I just have to keep rubbing it in her face. For the longest time, she's like, nah, I could do without the spice. It doesn't really do much for me.
Facts.
Ooh, how the tables have turned.
Facts. Hey, chapter 35. Violet wakes up in an interrogation room where Varys is primed and ready to torture her. He wants answers, but she won't break. Now Violet's down bad, waking up in blood. I
love that.
Thank you. It was in my head as I was writing it, so I was like, meh. An apparition in the form of Liam is there to keep her fighting. Dain shows up to be used as Varys' puppet, but in an incredible turn of events, Dain rebels, making a break for it, Violet in tow.
Amazing. Love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
The pre-chapter blurb comes from Major Ofrenda's Guide to the Rider's Quadrant, Unauthorized Edition. And it says, quote, the only signet more terrifying than an intrinsic is a truthsayer, and yet we let them live.
Mm-hmm. Which we've had experience with those before in the other interrogation room, right? Like that's what those people were?
Yeah, that's what Nora is.
Right.
So Violet comes to two unfamiliar voices discussing the consequences of a quote-unquote she finding out what's happening. Quote-unquote she is in Chaldeer, and they have a week, a whole freaking week until she returns.
Which I presume is General Sorrengail.
Yeah. Violet notes that she's sitting up strapped to a chair in a prison cell, and her connections to Taryn and to her signet are still fuzzy. She starts piecing things together, the lemonade, the satchel, Nolan, when one of her captors calls Varys, informing him that his prisoner is awake. She realizes that she is in the brig. Uh-oh. Mm-hmm. Have you watched Scandal?
No.
Oh, never mind then. I was just going to say, there's this hole in...
Like a physical hole?
Yeah, well, so the brig in Scandal, I'm like 99% sure it was called the brig in Scandal. I haven't seen Scandal in a few years now. But anyway, there's a hole that they like put people in as a means of torture. It's like solitary confinement, but they're in a really small space and it's dark and it's like a trap door. Anyway, forget it.
Isn't Scandal like a lawyer show?
No.
What's Scandal? Okay.
That's Suits. You're thinking Suits. Suits is a lawyer show. Scandal is with Kerry Washington, and she's a fixer, and she's having an affair with the President of the United States, and there's a lot of violence.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of
political intrigue.
Kerry Washington. I just always
Did
thought
I say
it was like
Carrie Underwood?
No, you said Washington.
Okay.
No, I knew it was the Kerry Washington thing, but I just thought it was like a lawyer show when I saw the poster. I don't know.
No, it's just an impeccably dressed Kerry Washington who subsists off red wine and popcorn.
Okay.
That's basically it. Anyway, Violet catalogs the space she's in. There's a shelf for a bed, a toilet, and she recognizes Nora, who is the bitch who always empties her bag. Mm. Oddly, she remarks that Nora has like a look of concern on her face. Anyway, Varish kicks the random man out of the room, but Violet spots, before, that happens, she spots all of her daggers on a table in the antechamber. Mm-hmm. And this just gives me the heebie-jeebies because this means that they had to have like touched her or groped her in order to remove all the daggers. Mm-hmm. And just the thought of her being manhandled while she was unconscious, like, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah. Nolan walks in and Violet notices that his steps are sluggish. So my question to you is, do you think he is there of his own volition?
Well, even just going back to the last chapter, like he says, like, oh, you're putting everyone in danger. I'm just wondering, because he has shown signs before of actually caring about Violet and wanting to help her. So what story has he been told that he was willing to poison her? Because if he truly believed the words he said, saying like, oh, you're putting everyone in danger, like what side of the story is he being presented that he actually wanted to be involved or did it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know what information he has and what he truly believes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's there on his own volition?
Well, I don't know. The fact that he is walking sluggishly could be a sign that he's also been drugged somehow, or that he's being controlled somehow.
Yeah.
Or he could just be really tired. I mean,
I took it as the tired, but being drugged somehow could also be. It's a good point.
Yeah, who knows? Nolan tells her that they just need her to answer some questions, but Violet can't get over the betrayal. She accuses him, quote, "You drugged me. I trusted you. I've always trusted you." And Nolan must be one of those people who really, truly drink the Kool-Aid. Like, this is what he says now makes me think that maybe he is there by his own volition because he starts interrogating her. He asks why she has Lyra's journal. He gently tells her that he wanted to be wrong, but, quote, "Markham had sounded the alarm that the royal wards within the king's private library had been breached, and then I saw you standing in the courtyard with a scribe's satchel." Violet completes the thought that the scribe's satchel is a common means for transport of books from the archives. How did they, like, I said this before, how did they just not think that through? Like, it's just so dumb. It's such like a little
Well, to
detail.
have it in the opening, like if you're stealing something, you're not going to like carry it around like,
yeah,
look what I have, guys. Like, you're going to do something to disguise it.
I know. It just really upset me. Anyway, I think Nolan is exhibiting some real psychotic behavior because he's being so gentle and kind and concerned. But really, he's the one that put her in this extremely dangerous situation. He said it himself in the past that Varish has it out for Violet and that he thinks Varish will kill her. Anyway, Varish is done with the gentleness. He tells Violet, quote, "Answer my questions and we'll let you sleep that headache off before class tomorrow. Lie, even once, and it's going to get messy." It's actually 3 questions, Nolan corrects. 1, they want to know how they did it. 2, they want to know who she did it with. And 3, they want to know why. Instantly, Violet is filled with relief because this means that everyone else is safe.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about what happened and who was involved. Then she calms down enough to realize that despite not having her signet or her ability to use her limbs, she is not defenseless because she's got her best weapon, her mind. Varys starts the interrogation with, how did she breach the wards? And she simply replies that, quote, "It would be impossible for me to breach the royal ward, seeing as I am not royal." Nora confirms that she's not lying because, again, that is her signet ability, but she gives Violet kind of like a peek behind the curtain because she reminds the room, and I'm sure it's not accidental, that her signet detects lies. So this allows Violet to strategically answer the questions. She can't lie, so she must pick her words very carefully.
Yeah. Yeah, she's basically a human lie detector.
Exactly. So I'm cautiously optimistic that Nora is on our side. Or
yeah, that's a good...
a little bit on our side.
I didn't really pick up on that, but now that you point it out, like, it's true.
When Nolan pleads with Violet to tell them what happened, he really is grasping at straws. He's asking whether this was an unsanctioned squad challenge, a dare. Mm-hmm. But he also reveals that leadership hasn't been able to get into the vault to find out what's missing. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, Violet deflects, asking how they can assume that the book isn't a reproduction since they haven't confirmed that the original is missing. And this makes Nolan pause. He confirms that, quote, Markham said the coverlet wasn't disturbed. So, in their rush of 2 minutes to get out of the chamber, they nicely
covered their tracks. Yeah. It's great. And also just like, I know it's the beginning, she hasn't been tortured yet, but like already I'm like, oh, she's good at this game. Like she is going to be able to hold out for a long time. It gave me hope.
Varish is calmly circling Violet like a predator hunting prey. Mm-hmm. He asks if it is a reproduction in an attempt to catch her in a lie, but she is smarter than that. Even though I've been doubting it for the past 34 chapters. She says that she doesn't know because she hasn't examined the book, which Nora confirms is the truth. Violet looks straight at Varish and tells him, quote, I'm guessing you have no proof, Major Varish, because none of you can cross a royal ward, and no one is volunteering to tell the king that there's been an alarm, false or otherwise. Please, let me remind you, the last time someone accused me of lying without proof, they found themselves assigned to the farthest outpost Lucerys has to offer. But Varish won't be deterred. He asks her who stole the book for her because there's no way she did it. And instead of answering his question, she answers, quote, I alone put that particular book in its bag, which is the truth. She looks at Varish once more and tells him, quote, I'm done answering your questions. If you want to put me on trial, call a quorum of wing leaders and do so according to the rules put forth in the Codex. And I want to tell her you don't have a leg to stand on, Violet. You're alone with a dangerous man whose ego you seriously injured. Mm-hmm. And obviously that goes down exactly how we would have expected because Varish hits her across the face.
Yep.
He excuses Nolan and orders Nora to call an immediate formation to check the hands of every cadet in the quadrant.
Yeah, that scared me. I was like, oh no, were they successful in hiding Aaric's hands? I don't know. Like, a little scary.
Yeah.
And then Varish breaks her fingers.
Yeah.
Yay! The torture begins.
But before the torture begins, she reminds herself of what Xaden told her before the other interrogation.
Yes.
Violence, remember, it's only the body that's fragile. You are unbreakable.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love that line.
Then, prepare for tears. Because Violet comes to again, and we learn that her arm is broken, and she's dripping blood, and a soft voice tells her to sleep.
It's Liam.
Did you cry at all?
I got teary-eyed.
Did you?
Yeah, I got very teary-eyed. I was like, I did not expect it.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd get to see him again. And like, I know the whole time she's like, oh, it's just a hallucination or whatever, but it's just, it was so him, and it was like his encouraging self, and I was just really happy to see him again.
Yeah. Like you said, she reminds herself that he's just a hallucination from pain and dehydration, and he responds that maybe, but also maybe Malik sent him as a kindness. And we learn something about the mythology of their gods because Violet thinks to herself, quote, Malik doesn't do kindness, nor does he allow souls to wander about. So, Liam's appearance in this scene has launched two major discussions on the internet. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah.
One, that Liam was actually there, / not dead, / not a hallucination.
Okay.
Yeah. And two, that Violet's second signet is related to speaking to the dead.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
One, no.
Okay.
Because they wouldn't allow Liam to be there. And he has no powers to be invisible or only visible to her. So that is, there's literally nothing to back that up. I think it's kind of a silly theory. But the second one, that's cool. We don't know what our second signet is yet because as far as we know, Andarna's still asleep. Mm-hmm. But maybe she's coming towards the tail end of it. That could be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no like actual evidence of it, but it's a possibility. What are your thoughts and feelings?
I agree with you for one. Also, Rebecca has said outright that Liam is dead. Mm-hmm. And people just refuse to believe her.
Yeah.
But for number two, I'm not sure her side. So Rebecca did say that by the end of Iron Flame, There are Easter eggs as to Violet's second signet.
Oh, okay.
So basically, we have everything we need to know. It's exhibited itself somehow. We just don't know.
Oh, okay. So that would back up that theory.
Possibly. Yeah.
Interesting.
Despite being in tremendous pain, Violet fights to stay awake because this is the first moment in hours that she's been alone. And the award for the most heartbreaking line goes to Liam Mari. Quote, "But you're staying strong. I'm so proud of you." Liam is the best, even from the great beyond.
I know.
These words of affirmation that he keeps giving her through the whole chapter.
I love him so much. I'm gonna like purposely put off watching the episode where he dies when the TV show comes off. Like I just don't want it.
I know.
Anyway.
Can you just imagine? It's been
no.
my honor.
No, because literally when that part plays out.
Welling up. She's got tears in her eyes. And I'm just torturing her.
Later in this chapter, when that part plays out again, reading that sentence again had me in tears again. I was like, this is ridiculous.
For sure.
Okay.
Get yourself together. Take a moment.
I'm okay.
Violet catalogs her injuries. Her lip is split, as is a lot of her skin, and this all came from Varish's hands. He hasn't even taken a blade to her yet, which is so gross and so spooky and so I don't like.
Yeah.
She also overhears the conversation from the antechamber, and just when you think Nora is semi on our side, she suggests that they bring in Violet's squad because that will help her break sooner because she won't want to see them tortured. Varish disagrees because during assessment she didn't break. Plus, it would clue them in on what happened, and he doesn't think that Imogen would agree to memory wiping, and so he asks again, do any of the cadets have any hand injuries? And she confirms that none do. This must mean that they made it to Dyer in time, which is fantastic news. But then she also, Nora, tells Varish that Devera and Emiterio are asking where she is, along with her squad, because she's missed class.
Right.
We knew we loved them for a reason. They're great professors. Also, it's Monday. She's been in captivity since Saturday, so we're on day 3. Well, 2.5, because it was like late at night on Saturday.
So do we know what the favor was with Dyer? Like, I don't remember Dyer.
So basically, it was when they were in Land Nav and Bade was there. And Bade blew smoke, but Violet grabbed Dyer from like running away or something. Yeah. And she like saved his life.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. When Violet tries to reach for Taryn, she remembers that they've been forcing her to drink that elixir. And she also informs us of the lovely fact that her ankle has been broken, but quote, "It's only my body they've broken. I haven't spoken a single word." She realizes that it'll be another 5 days before Xaden realizes she's missing, and she tells Hallucination Liam, which is how I refer to him from here on out, that he can't react. If he does, he'll risk everything. But also, her mother.
Her mother's away, though.
No, I know.
Okay.
But I'm saying, like, it's 5 days until Xaden's back, but it's also 5 days until her mom's.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, Hallucination Liam is like, you think he's not already losing his shit? Sigale would have felt Taryn's panic. And in the most touch her and die clue, he tells her, quote, "Xaden's gonna rip this place apart brick by brick. You just have to survive." And that is so attractive to me that he will stop at nothing. He will literally take the time to pull apart bricks from mortar to find his girl.
Yeah. But then her following thought is, he's not going to risk the movement for me.
But like Liam, Hallucination Liam, is like, he will.
And I agree with Hallucination Liam. I was like, Violet, he's going to show up.
He's obsessed with you.
Yeah, absolutely. But how would that risk the movement?
Because it's risking him, and he's a leader of the movement, putting himself in danger.
Yeah, but he'd like walk in and just like kill Varish.
Yes, but keep in mind, well, we find out a little bit later when Dain makes an appearance that there are 12 guards. So
yeah, remember how easily he snapped the necks of the 8 people in her room?
They were first years and they were unbonded. So
they were all the guards riders?
Okay, good point. They could be infantrymen. You were right. Okay.
I just think Xaden is so powerful.
I know, he is. No, you're right. You're right. Varish is back and he's given up on the question of who helped her steal the book. He wants to know why. And he taunts her. Quote, "Surely you have questions I can answer about why it is we don't involve ourselves in Paromish issues. Is that what this is? Righteous indignation?" We could have an equal exchange of information since we both know it wasn't griffins that killed your friend's dragon. Then we get a fresh wave of Dain hate when Varys continues, quote, but how much do you know? And what have you been doing with the marked ones? We've been watching them for years, of course. But until Cadet Atos gave you up, all we've had to go on was speculation. But then you didn't come back to Basgiath. No outpost reported you seeking a healer. So, I'm going to rephrase my question from earlier. Where did you go, Cadet Sorrengail? Where are you trying to ward? He's on the right path.
Yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah.
It's very, very scary.
Freaking Dain. He just set off this chain of events. Ugh.
Fucking Dain. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I guess they have a suspicion that there is an uprising brewing if this is the path he's going on. Like, he knows there's somewhere else that is trying to be warded. Like, I'm assuming leadership thinks that the marked ones are somehow involved in this.
Yeah, they just have no evidence.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then we get the moment we have been waiting for, or one of the many moments we've been waiting for. Yeah. We find out what Varys' freaking signet is.
Yes. Which I don't really know what to call it in terms of, like, what a signet is. But basically, he sees weakness. Mm-hmm. When he looks at a person, he says instead of seeing the person, he sees what makes them tick and what their weaknesses are. And then he divulges that when he first saw Violet, he was expecting to see all her weaknesses because he's heard about how frail she is. But he didn't see anything because her mental shields were so strong. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
I know.
She's so amazing.
Yeah.
I know she's going through hell, but, like, this whole chapter just shows how strong and how much she's grown and just how incredible she really is at her job, I guess.
Yeah.
At being a writer.
Yeah. But then he reveals that now that she's cut off from her power, he can see what her weakness is, and it is the people she loves. Yeah. And he names Rhiannon, her squad, her sister, her dragons, and Xaden. Note, not her mother.
It's true. I love this whole part, too, the delivery. It's so, like, evil bad guy speech.
Yeah.
To the point that he's like, do I have to do both parts? And then says her reply. Like, the whole thing was so good.
I know. So Nora's like, oh, she's triggered. Like, obviously she's triggered, Nora. Varys is like, yeah, obviously. Then he turns to Violet and tells her, quote, I bet you're thinking he'll be the one who comes for you. He being Xaden. Mm-hmm. That come Saturday, when you don't show up in Samara, he'll come looking, even if it means violating his leave policy. You're pinning your hopes that he'll break the rules for you, that he'll save you, since your own mother hasn't lifted a finger for you. 1, Violet doesn't think Xaden's coming for her. She thinks he cares more about the movement. 2, her mother's still in Chaldeer. Of course she's not going to lift a finger. She doesn't know.
She doesn't know, yeah. I think she would react.
I think she would react.
I know she's a very standoffish mom, but the time that they thought the Resin crew were dead, like, right away she jumped in, she believed Violet, and then punished Atos. So
agreed.
She cares a little in her own way.
Absolutely. So now Varys is, like you're saying, in evil villain mode, revealing his grand plan, which is that he's counting on Xaden coming to save her. Mm-hmm. Quote, I waited all year for you to break a rule so I can question you under Codex. Your mom's a real rule follower that way. But you have no idea the joy it gives me to know that Fen Ryerson's son will break Codex by abandoning his post to come to your aid, and he'll be strapped to the chair next. And he will give me the answers I seek. Oh no, it's a trap.
Yeah.
Did you get the sense that it was a trap from the beginning?
No.
Me neither.
No, but maybe I'm, like, wrong, but I'm not worried about that. Like, if that was the case, I feel like Xaden would kill Varys before ever getting interrogated. Like, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe in the next few chapters he will be chained up and beat up and everything, but I just felt like it felt like an empty threat. Like, I don't think Varys is a threat to Xaden at all. Or, like, Taryn and Sigil would take down Solas in a split second. Like, I was just like, really, if you want to go up against Xaden, like, you don't have a leg to stand on, Varys. Like, I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah.
That's how I felt reading it. I was like, that's stupid.
Well, anyway. I appreciate that you remained calm because I did not, and I've read this book before. So now Varys is using her weakness to manipulate her. Quote, you have so much power here, Sorrengail. You alone can save Lieutenant Ryerson from what awaits him should he arrive. Tell me what I want to know, and I won't hurt him. And Violet is tempted. But hallucination Liam is encouraging her to hold the line, coaching her through this interrogation. She feels him touch her, which is one of the things that kind of sparked that for people.
Right.
They're like, okay, you know.
He could touch her, yeah.
Yeah, and she actually felt the physical touch. But this physical touch gives her strength, as he warns that, quote, talking would lead to the deaths of every living thing on this continent. If they had anything on Xaden, he'd already be in custody. They're not going to hurt him. They can't. But then Varys says that he glimpsed into Xaden's mind when he fumbled his shields once and saw what he needed to see. What did he see?
I know.
When? When did this happen?
Know. When did he fumble?
He tells Violet that they'll have all the information they need in a matter of days, and then he also says she's not the prize but the tool. And that pisses her off. And you know what? I don't blame her because she is no tool. She is a dang prize.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that he saw was that Violet is Xaden's weakness.
Oh,
so,
you
like,
think?
So he's going to torture Violet
To get to
Xaden. Because the only thing that would make Xaden break would be Violet.
Yes. Park that.
Because Violet's going to be the death of him. Anyway, I hate that sentence.
Violet is pissed off, and she decides she's going to hit Varys where it hurts. She asks whether Solas enjoys hiding. Quote, just because you've blocked my ability to talk to Taryn doesn't mean he doesn't know exactly what you've done to me. You're hunting Xaden, but Taryn is hunting Solas. You're the weaker on both counts. I might die in this chamber, but I promise you will.
Boom.
I know. He realizes that he can't kill her without losing Xaden as well, but he's not deterred. He's like, that won't stop me from shattering you over and over. So he calls Nolan in to mend her again so they can start over. Violet is resolved to stay strong, but asks Liam not to leave her.
I know.
Oh.
I was worried that in her, healing process, once she got healed to a certain point again, Liam would disappear.
Oh.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
There.
He stays with her. There's another time jump that starts off the same way as the last with drip, 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 which is absolutely revolting. And we learn that Violet has been mended 2 or 3 times, but she holds firm. Liam is still there with her, like we just said. And we also get a glimpse into the routine of her torture, which is kind of really messed up thing to say. But basically, they force her to drink the serum once a day. She eats when they tell her to eat because she's got to survive, and she sleeps after each mending session. She also takes inventory of her injuries. She's got cracked ribs. Her left arm is breaking at the same place as the first time, which also tells her that neither she nor Nolan are at full capacity. So basically, if either of them were at their full strength, she would be healing properly as if nothing had ever happened to her.
Right.
Then Nora confirms that I am a hopeless optimist that is very wrong and has very poor reading comprehension skills because she suggests that they bring Jack Barlowe in.
Yeah, but it made me question if they don't have a full read on Jack Barlowe either. Because the fact that he saved her is absurd. Unless he simply saved her to get information from her.
I'm trying to say this without spoiling anything. He saved her because she is useful to them.
Well, that's what I just said.
Not because he...
To get information from her.
Not for him personally.
No, but for them. Yes, working for them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, he's just been trailing her.
Yeah.
He's watching her every move.
Yep.
And then in that moment was like, oh, shit, she's going to die. I'm going to save her.
Yes. Because without her, they don't have the leverage on Xaden.
Yeah.
Because Xaden is the real prize.
Fucking Jack Barlowe.
Varys refuses to bring Jack Barlowe in, claiming that although he'd want revenge, they can't trust him not to kill her. So, shocker, the kindness, second chance at life spiel was an act. Violet is feeling super down. She's in a lot of pain, but she tells herself that at least everyone she cares about is safe. And I guess to distract herself from the pain that she's in, she tells Hallucination Liam that his sister hates her. And Hallucination Liam reassures her that, quote, Sloane can be tough, but you're doing a great job. And I just, again, these words of affirmation, he's just bolstering her, keeping her going, making sure she doesn't break. Then a voice calls out,
Ugh.
You asked to see me, sir? Down here? There have to be 12 guards in the stairwell.
And who is it? Dain Atos.
Yeah.
So in this moment,
Yeah.
I wrote down before reading the rest because I was like, I have to say it. This moment is the only chance he has of redeeming himself. And if he fucks this one up too, it's over.
He's dead to you.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get to it, but anyway, continue.
Varys responds in the affirmative, claiming, quote, I need your help. Navarre needs your help. And Violet starts freaking out, but Hallucination Liam tells her to stay calm. Varys continues, quote, we had a breach of security this week and classified documents were stolen. We caught the perpetrator and prevented the loss of intelligence, but the prisoner, ... It's blatantly obvious by connection that this writer is working with what we suspect to be a second rebellion, intent on destroying Navarre. For the safety of every civilian within our wards, I need this prisoner's memories, wing leader. You must extract the truth, or our very way of life will be compromised. Violet is thrashing in her restraints, realizing that without her connection to Taryn, she has no shields.
He's so good at being manipulative.
I know. Varys gently says what he's about to say, but I just think it's so freaky when villains speak gently or calmly or like kindly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, it adds to like the sinister.
I know.
Like, oh.
I know. So Varys gently says, I'm going to warn you, the prisoner's identity may come as a shock.
Oh, yep.
The door swings open and Dain sees Violet in her terrible condition, and she's not even ashamed to beg Dain for help. Mm-hmm. He's alarmed and aghast that they've been torturing her for 5 days, and Varys has absolutely no qualms about it. He says, absolutely. She might have been a childhood friend, Atos, but we both know where her loyalties lie now. With Ryerson and the war he's planning against us, she wants to bring down the wards. Violet protests that she'd never hurt civilians, begging Dain, you know, but he answers angrily that he doesn't know shit about her anymore. And I'm like, oh no, is Dain gonna betray her now too?
I was like, dude, no, like.
Were you thinking that?
Well, I didn't know which way he was gonna swing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was definitely a possibility. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because everything he's demonstrated has been so a stickler for the rules and a stickler for what quote, he thinks is quote unquote right, which we as readers don't agree with Navarre, but like it's all he knows. So it's like, is he gonna, like, how is he gonna react to the information? I don't know.
Yeah.
It could have gone either way.
Absolutely. Violet lays it all on the table, telling him, quote, there's a war out there. Paromish civilians are dying, and we're not doing anything to help. We're just watching it happen, Dain. Dain argues that they shouldn't involve themselves in their civil war. Mm-hmm. And of all people, we know he drinks the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. But he's not, like, catching on. He's a little bit slow, you know?
And then Violet says the best freaking line ever. Mm-hmm. She says, I think you've been lied to for so long that you won't recognize the truth even when it hits you in the face. And I'm like, please, Dain, like, listen to her
smarter.
Words. Listen.
Yeah. Dain asks once more whether Varys is sure she's trying to take down the wards, and Varys responds that yes, and adds a little dig that, quote, people aren't always who we want them to be. Violet realizes she won't be able to stop this, and then Varys digs his own grave, I think, by saying, quote, try not to be angry with her. We can't always help who we fall in love with, can we? Dain does not like this.
No, that would obviously just anger him.
Yeah. Varys continues, quote, Ryerson pulled her into something she couldn't possibly understand. You know that. You saw it happen last year. I didn't want to have to show you this, but she was carrying this too. He shows the alloy dagger. The metal you see is what powers the wards. We think they've been smuggling them out to wherever they're planning to stage this war from, weakening our wards little by little. And Violet is desperate to explain herself, but Dain is angry. He says, you don't need to explain. I've been asking you to talk to me for months, and now I see why you won't. Why you're adamant I never touch you. You're scared I'll see what you've been hiding. Violet sits there, and she prays that Xaden will forgive her, and then Varys instructs Dain to search by focusing on the word ward, which is a little cool insight into his skills. Like, it's basically like a search engine, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's a random voice outside calling out, all leadership is being ordered to assemble. There have been ... incidents at the border.
Yeah. So just going back to the ward thing, part of me was wondering if Varys was trying to get Dain to focus on the word ward because he didn't want him to see everything.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, just him manipulated him further. Like, he doesn't want Dain to know about the wyvern. He only wants to show him.
And the venom.
And the venom, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
totally. Nora says that they'll be there shortly, and Varys shakes his head, saying, quote, we might already be too late. Ryerson deserted days ago, according to the reports we received this morning. We're gathering the marked ones now.
Yeah.
Xaden deserted. So that means that Violet was right, that Sigale did feel Taryn's panic and decided to do something about it.
Yeah.
Hallucination Liam. I find it really funny that I keep referring to him as that. Anyway.
I would stumble over the word hallucination almost every time, so good for you.
Thank you. It's a tongue twister. Hallucination Liam tells Violet that even though Dain can search her memory, he'd have to muddle through whatever she's thinking first.
So in that moment, like, it's just interesting because it's a thought that didn't occur to Violet. So it's like, is it Violet's mind or is it Liam? Like, why did Liam know?
Or it could be her subconscious.
Or it could be her subconscious. Like, I don't know. I just, now that you've said that, like, I find it such an interesting theory.
I think that the fact that she felt his physical touch is one of the biggest indicators that hallucination Liam. Yeah.
I mean, there's like a lot of stories and whatever about how like the mind, when it goes into panic mode of like needing to protect itself, it's crazy what your mind could conjure up. So
I mean, people develop other personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
To protect themselves.
Yeah. So I don't know. The mind is an interesting place.
It really is. It's super fascinating. Varys thinks that Violet and Xaden orchestrated this distraction, but before he goes, he reiterates to Dain that he has to find out what he can because the safety of their kingdom depends on it. In a desperate attempt to delay, Violet accuses Dain of having killed Liam, and Dain responds, quote, "So you keep saying, but I only searched your memory to prove my father wrong, Violet, and all you did was prove him right. If the Marked Ones died betraying our kingdom, then they deserved what they got." And she whispers what we all wish we could tell to his face, that she hates him. Don't we all, Violet? Don't we all?
Indeed.
Now Varys is starting to get impatient. She's stalling. He snips. "Do it now, and if you see something you don't understand, I'll explain it once we know where their army is hiding. Just trust that we are acting in the best interest of every citizen of Navarre. Our only goal is keeping them safe." So this proves what you were just saying about how Varys wants to control the narrative and doesn't want Dain to discover things that he wasn't supposed to. But also, Varys isn't lying. Their goal is indeed to protect the civilians of Navarre. They don't care about anyone else. They just care about the civilians of Navarre. So.
But it's just like, so even what Dain says of saying that if the Marked Ones died betraying our kingdom, then they deserve what they got, like, is so Navarre's narrative. Because Liam didn't die betraying the kingdom. He died trying to protect
Peromish civilians.
Yeah.
Dain nods and reaches for her, but hesitates when he notices how badly injured she is. But again, Varys is just sticking his finger in the wound, or
Ew.
What's the expression? Just kind of like needling him.
Yeah.
And tells Dain she is nothing more than a traitor. Liam reminds Violet to show him what she wants him to see. So when she senses his presence in her mind, instead of recoiling, she embraces it, and she drags him into her memories. She shows him what happened in Reston. She forces him to feel the emotions of that moment, and she makes him feel the pain that's been inflicted on her during her torture. He gasps, drops his hands, and looks at her in horror. Then Liam makes us all cry, except for me. I actually didn't cry, but makes you all cry. Telling Violet, "I'm here, and I still don't regret it, not for 1 second."
That boy.
I know. Dain is starting to piece the truth together. Violet was smuggling weapons to aid another kingdom. And now Violet's devastated. She's like, he didn't get it. After all that, that's what he hones in on.
Do you think the memory thing is like the pensieve?
Yes.
Like,
except the pensieve doesn't allow for the user, like...
Well, because there's no user.
That's it. Like, the pensieve, what it does is, like, the memory is taken. It can't be, I mean, it can be tampered with, but it must be tampered with before being retrieved. Yeah. Whereas here, she's able to, like, take him with her and decide what he's about to see.
Right.
So I feel like it's the same but different.
Yeah, well, it's because the pensieve is like, it's a recorded memory. Yeah. Whereas this is like live in her brain. So obviously there's that.
And she can jump from memory to memory. Yeah.
I was picturing it like Dain was there watching it happen. The same way like Harry's there watching it
in
happen.
the Wizagamot and watching the trial of Barty Crouch Jr. The facts, like, this is such unimportant information that is like permanently sealed in my mind.
The Harry Potter facts?
In my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Like, just think of all the intelligent shit I could do if there was more space up here.
You're intelligent. Come on now.
Thank you very much, but, you know, I could be way more. Anyway. Violet looks at hallucination Liam and apologizes for failing him, but he tells her she never did, that they pulled her into their war, and he apologizes to her. Nora is now rushing them out for the leadership meeting, and Dain demands the alloy knife that they took off Violet. So now again, I'm like, is Nora on their side? What's going on?
Yeah, it kind of feels like she was trying to
get them away
before Dain even touched Violet's memories. So it's kind of like, oh, what is going on there?
Yeah. Varys hands the knife to him, but instructs him not to kill her because they need her as leverage, and I just want to vom everywhere. Dain confirms that, quote, "This is the one. They're taking them out by the dozen, arming the enemy. I saw everything. There's at least one drift involved." And now Violet is in a fully fledged despair spiral. Dain grips the dagger and holds it to her throat, telling her, quote, "You should have trusted me, Violet. None of this would have happened if you just trusted me, and now it's too late." Did you think Dain was going to kill her? No. Really?
I didn't think he would kill her. Well, Varys just
He's holding a knife to her throat.
Varys, I thought that whole part was weird. I don't know why he did it, but Varys just said don't kill her. He wasn't going to do it.
Okay, fine.
I was like, why are you holding a knife to her?
You're too rational. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I didn't know that he was going to betray Varys, though. I was surprised.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I was impressed.
Good. Violet realizes in this moment how much she loves Xaden and that she should have told him every single day that she did, which is why I do that. And she anticipates a blow, ready to die. But when she looks up at Varys, he's holding his side. Dain frees her from her restraints, quickly telling her that he's not sure they can fight their way out, and asks if she can move. Varys is sliding down the wall, leaving a bloody trail in his wake, which is so, cartoony. And Dain tells her to move or they're dead. Then tells Nora to move or she's dead too. But then a voice comes out saying, "I make no such promises." And Nora falls to the ground, blood flowing from a wound in her neck. And Violet looks into gold-flecked onyx eyes. Onyx!
Yes. Xaden's there to save the day-ish with the help of Dain, I guess.
Yeah. So, has Dain redeemed himself?
I still don't like him. I thought I was so disappointed because I was like, if he saves her, I'm going to like him again. And then he saved her and I was just like, okay, well, I'm glad he saved her, but I still don't, it wasn't the sigh of relief I was hoping for. And then I was like, okay, I need to understand why I feel this way. And I started thinking about it and I'm like, he has so much work to do to be forgiven that this is just the first step that I'm not ready to forgive him. And I guess, spoiler, but it goes back to Silver Flames and what House of Wind discussed in how Nesta did not do the work to get the forgiveness that she got. Everyone was just like, oh yeah, we forgive you. And everyone was happy again because of this one thing she did. And upon thinking about it, it's like, oh, it's true. She did a lot of really awful things that she didn't really pay for. And now, same thing with Dain is he has been shitty from the beginning, which we've talked about. And it's been kind of a shitty friend the whole time. And it's yes, he's done this one great thing. And it literally was life or death for everyone involved. But is it enough to just be yeah, I forgive you now. Yeah, I trust you now. No, you got a long way to go, bud.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he is redeemable in this moment.
He took a step in the right direction.
All right.
But it wasn't the
big
hallelujah
moment
I was hoping for, which I was primed for at the beginning of this chapter. I'm like, this is it. This is his moment. It's going to happen. And then it happened. And I was like, damn, I still don't like you. I don't know. How do you feel about it?
No, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I happen to know what's going to happen
later.
Soon.
Yeah.
So I'll keep my comments to myself. But in this moment, I do agree that he is setting the ball rolling for his potential forgiveness.
Right.
Last awards of the week?
Yeah.
What is your most romantic line?
I'm not wandering, Violet. I'm exactly where I need to be.
Love that.
What's yours?
They may have blocked me from my power, but that stems from Taryn. The control over my mind, that's mine. And it's all I have left.
Love that.
Yes, I love a good self-love.
Yes, I agree. Funniest line?
I still can't believe that fucker survived.
Same.
Really?
No, I'm just agreeing. Sorry. I agree. Mine was, kudos to my brain. He's an excellent hallucination.
Aw. What is your spiciest line?
And I'm not defenseless. I'm still in full possession of my mind.
My spiciest line is, does Solus enjoy hiding? It's just so sassy. I just love it. The petulance.
Oh, yeah.
She is literally at Varys' mercy, and she's still sassy.
And she hasn't said anything for hours. That's the first thing she says. And she's
her voice
just
is all brittle.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm just going to fight back. It was good. I mean, I know it sucks to watch Violet go through this torture, but like I was saying before, the strength that she demonstrated through this chapter is so good.
Yeah.
And we see how clever she is with her choice of words, and we see her fight with her sass, and it's just so good.
I know. I love it. Do you have any predictions for where this is going to go next? What do you think is going to happen? I think this is a really fun time to ask you to give us your thoughts, because we just went through, a very traumatic situation. Mm-hmm. Varys has been incapacitated. He's still alive.
He's still alive.
But he's been incapacitated. Good. So what do you think is going to happen next?
I haven't really thought about it, so I just need a sec to think about it.
Take your time.
But I don't know. Is this the part where they leave?
Yeah, that's what. Okay, do you want me to ask you questions, or do you want to just?
Well, I think I guess the next logical step is like this war, I guess you could call it that. It's like the last straw to get the ball rolling. So it would make sense for them to leave because Xaden can't go back. Mm-hmm. I mean, Dain just stabbed Varish, so that's not going to end well for him if he sticks around. Violet needs to leave to safety. It almost would make the most sense for the marked ones, the main troop. And I would think Rhiannon and everyone would want to leave too. They pack up and go. And
go where?
To Aurasia and start working on the wards.
Okay. But their education's incomplete.
Who needs education, really? Come on.
Okay.
Coming from a teacher.
Yeah. Although, if you think about it, book 7, Harry doesn't finish his 7th year.
That's the thing. I think a baseline education is important, but I also think life teaches you so much. And in a situation like this, like maybe not all their skills are fully honed, but they do know people who have gone through the program, and those people could pass on those skills. And like, I think they have enough of a baseline of what they need to be able to teach within themselves and learn and complete their education. Like Violet is so book smart. She could teach everyone all the facts, all the history. And like someone like Xaden could teach people how to fight. I think they could do it on their own. And I think life situations like Ressin, like it's the stuff you learn in those moments is just invaluable. It's nothing you're going to ever learn in a classroom. So I'm not too worried about their education. Okay. All right. Well, we'll find out. I could be wrong, but it just feels like, what else are you going to do? Yeah. Stick around and get tortured again? Well, for next week, read chapters 36 through 40. We can find out if Elyse is right. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you so much for listening. Please rate this podcast and leave us a review. It'll help other people find us. If you haven't already, we encourage you to set new episodes to download so that you're sure to be up to date. Also, if you watch us on YouTube, please click the little bell. You'll get a notification every time we post new content. We have some shorts. We've got some long form content in the form of episodes. So please comment, subscribe, like, all the things. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in supporting the show, we launched our Amazon storefront, so you can check out some of our favorite book recommendations and other fun stuff that we just love in there. You can also still use our code for Smoke Show Hot Sauce. They've got hot sauces, they've got spices, they've got all the things. Code BBB1515. You can follow us on Instagram at BookBoundPod and on TikTok at Book Bound Besties. Please tag us in any theories that are non-spoilery for Elyse. Well, just warn us. Yeah. Elyse won't look. I mean, Myriam reads the DMs more than I do, just in case. Yes, so I protect protects my naivety. Yeah. Your innocence. It's okay. It's a good system we've got. Yeah, for sure. And DM us if you have any questions, comments, or feedback. You can also email us at bookboundpod@gmail.com. Let's get to reading.